Hey there, comic book fans. I figured, since I just got this lenticular cover version of Moon Knight 25/188, I'd dig out my old Moon Knight 25. Whoops. I bought this off the stand, well, comic shop. I think these were direct only. What's this year? 1982. So I bought this back in 1982. I was a Moon Knight collector at the time. Big fan of the series. I hadn't read it, I don't know, since sometime in the 80s. I probably read it more than once, but I don't think I've read it since the 80s. But I probably read it, sometime after 1982. Always loved this cover. One of my favorite covers. I might do a video just on that cover because it gave me some ideas. But anyway, my only memory of this particular issue is that I don't think I remember it wasn't one of my favorite issues of the series, and I really enjoyed this series. Doug Moench and Bill Sienkiewicz, and this to me is when Bill Sienkiewicz came into his own artistically. I always liked him. I liked his stuff before this series, but he was very heavily influenced by Neal Adams. But with this series, he really stretched his legs and became more of the experimental Bill Sienkiewicz we know to this day. And he kind of, he started doing all sorts of stuff with textures, ink splatter, rather than straight up hatching. Look at the way that shadow in the water just turns into squiggles. And how there's not a lot of hatching in his drawing at this point. Even the faces and stuff, there's a little bit of hatching, a little bit of cross-hatching. There's still some of that, plenty of that Neal Adams influence, like in that face there. But a lot of it is, he's just kind of gesturing in that building right there. And he's getting sketchier and texturier. Look at all that ink splatter back there. So he turned into a different Bill Sienkiewicz by this time. And I have to say, in rereading this, I remember not liking this issue a lot. I liked the other issues around it better, and I can see why rereading it. Because this is almost it's a double-sized issue. It's almost a standalone kind of graphic novel thing. In that it doesn't, look at that. He really was going just with splatters and lots of black. This is something, Neal Adams never would have done. Just gone with this texture up here of the shining light and just little hints of this guy. And you can see the process when they colored it from these different colored blacks in here. They just threw the red, and in the separation process, they just threw that red and yellow right over the black, sort of. It's not even a rich black. You can see this, because this is just the black ink. This is the black ink plus some yellow ink and red ink. So it was a completely different process in those days for how they did stuff like that. And it really shows up in panels like this, where all the black isn't one solid color black. Listen, but the story itself was pretty cheesy. Like I said, I liked the Moon Knight from this period, but this one was just... It started with this guy right here coming back from the Vietnam War, and he wasn't treated right, blah, 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 blah. He couldn't get his job back, blah, blah, blah. This story was a cliche by 1982, that, back from the Vietnam War and can't find a job, story. So he decided to become a supervillain and run for mayor. What? And the part I liked least about Moon Knight was his multiple personalities. And I think at this point they made him, over his multiple personality, anything he might have. But in this particular issue, all of a sudden it pops up again. Like I said, this issue almost seems like a standalone graphic novel of Moon Knight. So they give you every aspect of Moon Knight there was up until that time. So, Moon Knight... They both have no faces on their masks. Pretty cool. So Moon Knight, like I said, it's like Moon Knight's girlfriend shows up just to just to whine about him not paying enough attention to her, and he's all battered, and I mean, she's barely a character in this. She just kind of plays the role of representing Moon Knight's frustration and downward spiral. That's it. Other than that, she's got almost no personality in this whole issue. And of course he's, oh no, I'm beaten up by that guy, but no, I'm still in control. I'm still perfectly happy and healthy, even though his split personalities are driving him crazy, even though they're not. I'm the only one who knows that the new mayor is this supervillain. So it was like, but the art is a little zipatone there going on. Like I said, you can see that woman's face right there in her hair, the more sketchy Bill Sienkiewicz, rather than the highly illustrative one. Here he is, and there's another of his personalities. Like I said, the story itself is it's as cheesy as it gets in terms of, just, like I said, I remember not liking this issue, and I think I was right, because I want to read some more issues around this time now to see if I'm remembering them at all. But there's a nice picture. It's a double picture of sort of a romance comic view of her. And like I said, there's no hatching in this big drawing behind her. It's all just kind of textures and stamps. So he's, like I said, going out of his Neal Adams. He's pretty well out of his Neal Adams phase at this time, but there's still traces of it, of course. So then she's like, oh, you know, I'm breaking up with you, Moon Knight, because you're just not well, blah-de-blah. Like I said, she's barely a character. Frenchie gets himself hit by the henchmen. And then this is the weirdest part of the comic. I'm just like, huh? Moon Knight calls a press conference. He calls a press conference to announce that the candidate for mayor is a supervillain. And what? Of course no one believes him, because no one's believing him the whole issue. Blah-de-blah-de-blah. Oh, we don't believe you. That's just crazy. You're crazy, Moon Knight. And this is another weird thing. This is... Look, he kind of just drew the hair over the eye. Colored the hair. The hair was colored. That's just like... he was just moving fast and being sketchy, and that looks a little weird right there. And of course ends with Moon Knight being right. I like this panel. This Moon Knight jumping panel is real nice. So the story doesn't hold up for me. I don't think I liked this story at the time, so it's no surprise. Oh, of course, the climb back. Of course, after he's knocked to his lowest, he has to climb back and win the fight and win back his girlfriend. Oh, what a panel that is. Very nice right there. Very nice right there. Just that villain with the red moon behind him. Good stuff. So the art is definitely the star of this book, because the story is... Oh, then there's... I'll have to do another video just on this little bit of why covers were chosen and not. It's kind of interesting. But like I said, love this cover. One of my favorite covers of all time. The inside book, the art is nice. But, you know, the story, even at the time, I thought the story was kind of cheesy. Now here we go with a new... I haven't read Moon Knight in a long, long time. There's the new Sienkiewicz cover of the same thing. As you can see, he's using a completely different technique. This looks all digital here now. The splatter is not physical anymore. It's all digital. That's all digital effects in there. Digital glow. Digital lens flare. This is just the weirdest thing of all time here. This double size issue 188 of Moon Knight. And Moon Knight only appears in it in the last page. What? If this story, the old story, let me down a little bit, I couldn't even make it through the new story. And it wasn't terrible or anything. It was just uninteresting. I mean, the first, let's see, 1, 2, 3, double page spread of nothing. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9... 10, 11, 12, 13, I think I quit right around here. 14, then a random pinup. 15, 16, 17, 18. We're up to 20 pages about nothing but this woman who's a doctor, who's interested in unusual psychology, being real interested in this guy here who set some soldiers on fire and thinks he's a fire god. All this narration right here is just like, wow, I wish I had that level of resolve, that I could stop fixating on the Spectre conundrum. I'm just a failure. She's just obsessed with this guy and studying this guy to the point of, I don't know why we were supposed to be interested in her obsession. And here she is hanging out with her friends and they're telling her to stop being obsessed. Here she is going to bed, being obsessed. She comes back the next day to talk to this guy, being obsessed. And it's all kind of pointless. I mean, I don't understand this story at all because, I mean, I don't get why are we supposed to care about this woman being obsessed? So eventually it comes out this guy is just like Moon Knight is possessed by Khonshu. This guy is possessed by Khonshu's villainous foe. I don't know. It's just kind of pointless. The art's nice. There's nothing I can point to about it. It's terrible, except I didn't care in the least about it. Let's see the last page. No, Moon Knight doesn't show up at all. There's like a 4-page Moon Knight story that's completely separate. I don't get it. I have no understanding why this story exists. I mean, Moon Knight shows up as an apparition, part of her obsession, but he's not actually. This is a Moon Knight comic that's not about Moon Knight. So, there you go. We got an old one that's eh. We got a new one that's eh. Oh, maybe. Just maybe, I'll have to go and find a good Moon Knight story.